And we're live on a Tuesday. Feels like a Monday though, but it's not, which is cool. Welcome to Latest in Labs Tech Talk. Hope you guys had a great Memorial Day weekend. We have another guest, as we like. It's almost a tradition now that we have guests on the show.
Yes. Yeah.
And we'll introduce our guests in just a minute. But hope everyone's doing well out there. Hope you've had a productive Tuesday and you've got through the mounds of email from the weekend, and hopefully you're not hungover. You didn't drink too much on the lake or the beach or wherever you were at for some reason. So,
well, I guess some folks did, because I'm not seeing a lot of live pictures, right?
Yeah, we have a lot of people didn't show up today.
A lot of avatars.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have to augment the usual suspects group. I don't know.
Yeah.
You never know.
And Brent the Rock. I don't recall that name. I don't
No,
recall
Brent
the Rock.
Brent the Rock is new. Not a new person, but the Rock is a new name. So I like that. I follow the Rock on Instagram. I don't know if you guys Instagram. The Rock on Instagram is a great follow, by the way.
Yeah.
He crushes Sunday nights. He has these massive cheat meals, cookies and sushi, you name it. Anyways, it's off topic.
Yeah.
That's not tech talk.
Yeah, I cheated all weekend, so
Yeah, same here. Yeah, how was your Memorial Day?
It went well. I just focused on my hobby, which is cooking. So I tried to copy different recipes. So I was been trying, and this is like my fourth time to try to dial in Franklin's brisket recipe. And
We need to collaborate on this deal.
Because I made a giant brisket, and it actually worked out real well. It's not quite as good as Franklin's yet, but I'm getting closer. And then there was another thing I was trying, which was more Middle Eastern food. Trying to get chicken and lamb kebabs just right for this restaurant that we like. And so just experimented all weekend on cooking and grilling.
I need to start hanging out with Neil on the weekends.
Yeah, I like that labbing. Yeah. That's
Should we introduce Sarita? Not that Sarita needs an introduction.
Yes. And
if you guys don't know Sarita, why don't you tell us about you, and then we'll build you up even more after that, because you'll ultimately be honest, you always are.
Hey everyone, I'm Sarita Dua from Portland, Oregon. I love seeing some of these names and faces. This is like my crew. I see so many of you guys online. I'm a realtor in Portland, Oregon. I have a team, and happened to be here in Austin. I was excited to kind of crash the party here. I am a big fan of labs. I think it was Family Reunion last year that something lit up for me in terms of tech, CRM, end-to-end systems, and we're looking for volunteers, and I ended up spending quite a bit of time here in Austin to give feedback and learn about the process and help define it. It's been a great ride. Thanks for having me.
If we were to make a list of our top 5 labbers, Sarita would absolutely make that list without question.
From not only just attendance, but feedback and quality feedback. Yes, we learned a lot from her.
And usage too. Sarita's using it, which we're going to get into in a bit. But so Sarita, what she didn't say is she's here for Gary's mastermind. Gary has his mastermind in Austin a couple times a year, right?
That's right.
2 or 3 times a year, where he brings in the top agents in the company, and they have a mastermind for a couple days. And that's why Sarita's here, because she's one of the top agents in our company, not just in Portland, Oregon. And she's also one of our top labbers. So perfect for Latest in Labs Tech Talk.
Yep, thank you so much.
And I think we're going to talk a little bit today about her journey in Command, from drawing on white paper to actually using it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what, because you're using it now.
That's great. Yep.
So any questions you have, how you can participate today, obviously if you're in the room, you guys know the drill, raise your hand. We would love to hear you rather than see you type, only because then the people in Connect Live can hear you as well and hear your questions. If you're in the audience, it's slido.com Y072. So Y072 on slido.com if you're watching on Connect Live, and we'll kind of jump right in. Why don't you tell us a little bit of kind of you talked a little bit about it, your journey with the start of Labs, the first time you came to 255 and what that was like.
Sure. So just to kind of go back there, right? I remember sitting in the vision speech in February at Family Reunion, and Gary declared Keller Williams a tech company. And I actually had this agenda for Family Reunion with regards to the classes I was going to take. And I just said, wait a minute, this is big. I need to repurpose. I went to every tech class there was. And I started using Kelly. That was my first thing. I started using Kelly and referrals and using it to get contact info. And I'd find things that were wrong or just, let's say, not optimized. And I would submit feedback, and then Josh himself is responding. And it was interesting, right during Family Reunion, we were getting feedback. So then I got invited to Labs, and I didn't know, to answer your question there, I didn't really know what to expect. I thought that they were going to show us a solution and say, hey, what do you guys think? And it's exactly what you said. They didn't show us a solution at all. They showed us large, the legal size, A14 or A17, big white sheets of paper. And they would say, hey, like, how should it work ideally? Like, what's working about your system? What's not working? And the big aha I had was, we're so trained by the systems we have that we do things like even in like the wrong order because that's how our systems mandate it. And I remember everybody, Gary, Josh, everybody saying, Neil, you saying, okay, forget doing it step 1, step 5, then step 3. Like, if you had a clean sheet, how would you do it? Well, there's actually steps 0 and 0.5 that we didn't even capture that we can now. So it was really cool. And then when we started like saying, yeah, this looks really good, I remember Neil and Josh both saying, good enough to put your name on? And then we'd all like kind of pause like, well, maybe you should put your name on it. Like, we had to really step up and be willing to put our name on what we were building and what we were proposing. And that was really kind of an acid test on like really believing in the solutions we were creating.
Yeah, and so, and you have a tech background.
I do. So that's I think why I got so excited. I'm a sort of if I did like a Venn diagram of my life, I spent 14 years in tech, 7 at a large semiconductor company and then 7 at startups. And then I've been selling real estate for about 15 years. So what I love is like my two worlds are kind of coming back together in terms of, in fact, even when I was in tech, one of the startups I was at was a CRM vendor. So to be able to like actually have that tech background, but still have that subject matter expertise of like, I don't sell like one house a year to give, my son braces or whatever. Like, this is my job. And I mean, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with selling a little or a lot, but like, it is a full-time career for me. And I live it and I breathe it, and I do a lot of training on how to be the best at understanding what the trends are and what's going on and what the tools are available to us. So it's been really fun having those two come together.
Yeah, and I mean, Sarita mentioned like she's actually like not just selling 1 or 2 houses a year, but like you're heavily in production. Like, you're on appointments, you're lead generating, like you're doing it all every day.
Yeah, I mean, just like, obviously we all sell houses and we all could sell more, and it's not necessarily even about quantity. Like roughly I do about, 10 to 12 deals a month, but I do it in a very lean way. I have 3 buyer's agents, myself, and an admin, right? So we're just like we do it. Like, I don't have a team of 17 or 43. And again, nothing wrong with large teams, but because I'm lean, I actually have to do a lot of the pieces. I take every listing.
Yeah.
I write every offer. So I'm in there. Like, when we're talking about these things, it's not like, oh, let me ask my people how they do this. I'm actually doing it. And good or bad, because obviously I feel like if there was a 4-lane highway, I'm maybe in the bottleneck here, and I've got a 1-lane tunnel, but like everything does go through me, which means I'm probably not going to sell 1,000 houses with my current structure. But because of that, I'm pretty familiar with what's happening on my team and what the issues are literally day by day.
Yeah.
So can you give everyone a picture of what your tech layout looked like before you started transitioning into the new world of Command and Keller Cloud?
Ooh, do you want to draw it while she says it? This is a perfect drawing opportunity.
Neil likes to draw, I learned.
Yes.
That's awesome.
It's actually super cool too.
Well, and this would be something Gary would not be happy to hear from me, but one of the things about having a smaller team is you tend to run profitably. So you can make some business decisions where you're like, okay, I'm going to try this system. It looks great. And if it, and you have the funds to do it and you give it time. And so like over time, I found that I had a lot of these systems that I'd sort of purchased and acquired and like taped together, if you will. I had a system for my past clients.
Yeah, so your contacts, past clients.
So for my past clients, like any closed client, and I don't know why this sort of evolved this way. It was probably because I had a database for our buyer agents to work prospecting, and then I had a separate database for closed clients just to kind of keep them separate, which again, I don't know why we need that, but it made sense at the time.
So you had 2 databases.
I had 2 different databases, yep, and they.
What form were those?
So like the actual
the technology.
Sure, absolutely. My past client database was Salesforce, and my prospect database was Sync.
Salesforce.
And then I also had a website that was through another website provider called Curator, which doesn't have a CRM, so they were using Follow Up Boss on the back end. So Follow Up Boss was sort of where everything was coming in. So you can quickly see that this was really not the most efficient way to manage your business, because I had disparate systems. We had to do a lot of double entry. I then still had to have a great memory on my active pipeline and some of the referral activity I had, because I would use Post-its on my whiteboard or have things on my screen because they weren't quite a past client yet. And there might be a seller I'm working that isn't in our Sync prospect database that my buyer's agents are actively working. So it was sort of a mess, to be honest. And so selfishly, there was two things, right? One, I want to save some money because like I was paying a lot of money.
Well, yeah, Salesforce is not cheap.
Yeah, like
It's not cheap.
it was close to 10K for my renewal just for Salesforce, and I use a pretty small version of Salesforce. So I just said, you know what, I'm not renewing it. That was like my first entry into Command. I'm like, I'm going to put my past clients in Command.
Okay, so
Whether it's ready or not, I'm doing it.
So
I'm
this
not renewing.
This is actually a really good exercise for anyone that's watching. Just what Neil's doing now through Sarita's thought process is, I mean, what I see is just for contacts, just for the single applet in Command, you were using 3 systems.
I was, and then a lot of times we were having like little issues. Like I have a client named Daniel, his email is d.e. his last name, but he goes by Elias, which is his middle name. So, but like I know that, I might have that note in my system. My buyer's agents might still erroneously be calling him Daniel or Dan, which would be not cool because that's not what he goes by. So we had a lot of things where despite having multiple CRMs, we had to remember it because we didn't know where to put it. And it just depended on who. And then we did a lot of data transfer. Like, okay, now Kat and Elias are in contract. I got to do a data transfer to my transaction coordinator, and I got to tell her all this stuff. And it was painful because, again, we had different systems with different information. And a lot of times it ended up being like a manual override. Like, this is everything you need to know.
All right,
And
well,
then-
let's unpack that a little bit.
Okay,
though. So the
sure.
first thing you did was you moved from Salesforce, your past clients, into
I
Contacts
did.
Command.
I picked 4 years, 2014 to 2018, and it was 1362 clients.
So let's call this 1A. You picked a time period of clients,
I
right?
did.
That's hard to see that.
So we talk about on the sessions that I do, for those of you that join on Connect Live, is like, this is a process. Like,
So
this is really a process.
Subset of clients.
Yeah, I mean, I could like
Yeah.
just sync everything and have like tens of thousands of contacts, but then it's like, where do you start? So I just wanted a subset of clients that I could manage, that I could look at what came over, and also if I needed to do anything manual with regards to tagging or just any kind of custom organizing, I could do it in a way where I was like, for example, everyone was a past client, but as I was going and seeing if email addresses were there and everything, like I basically used a tag called to be validated, and I made everyone to be validated. And then as we were checking them, when I say we, it's just me and one of my my listing managers, a geek at heart. So he's sort of my database
Jared.
administrator with me, Jared. Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
So Jared and I would just, everybody would be to be validated. And then as we were doing spot checks on, you know, is the field right? Is the spouse there? Are the phone numbers there? Then we would remove that tag, and then
Okay.
and we'd watch that number go down, and that was a great way to do it.
And then I think I heard you say something about then you segmented as well?
Yeah, so then as we were segmenting, I ended up using I love custom tags. They're just so easy to use. So like I would do, were they a past buyer and what year? So past buyer, past seller, and then was it 2017, 2016, 2015, et cetera.
Okay.
So, that's not as important for some people who don't organize their data that way, but for us, it's great because we may have an event where we know we can't invite everyone, but we might go back 2 years and do a barbecue or something where we want to go invite like this year and last year. Then if the RSVPs are lower, we can go 1 year more. And so we kind of pick the years that we were doing it. And it's nice for me also because I can quickly see, wow, this is a past client, but they haven't done anything with me since 2012, 2013.
Okay.
I can go to the tax record and say, are they even in that address? Do they have another realtor
So it's a good
relationship?
segue. We got a question on Slido here. What was the past client touch? What mail system were you using? Your 33 touch?
So despite all that, I mean, I feel like this is like, please don't judge me, right? But despite all those systems, I was finding that for me, like some of the canned, I mean, I'm sorry, like we just had Memorial Day. How many Memorial Day emails did you get from your lenders? Like 7 of the same exact thing. And they're like, oh, you're special and we're thinking of you and our veterans. But you're like, well, I got the same email from 7 people. So what I do is I use another service where I have all my emails and I do 2 videos a month to my entire database. And so I'm touching my database with videos and I just email everyone, but then I can identify the hand raisers. And when they raise their hand, I'm putting in Command my interaction with them.
That was a good envelope. I didn't know where you were going with that, but that's a really
Yeah.
good envelope.
There we go. So we'll do video like that. How about that?
Oh, wow.
I like that.
Video,
I was going to say
email,
it's a
look at that.
ladder,
Video,
but
email.
yeah,
I thought
it was a
it's-
ladder
yeah, I
first,
love
too.
that.
All right.
And that's a whole separate topic, but I'm a huge believer. Like I had to get over the whole, how does my hair look, and am I having a fat day or a skinny day or whatever. But then I just realized, like, my big shift is they deserve to hear this information, and I'm doing them a disservice if I don't tell them. So my kind of brand is Ask Sarita. If you have a question about real estate, ask me. So anytime someone would ask me a question, I'd write it down, and then that would be a video for like a minute.
Okay. And what type of system were you using to send them out?
So it's just like an email marketing. So I used a company that helped me make the videos look professional. Like I would shoot the video on my phone or my webcam, and then they would transcribe it and put it on my blog or whatever. And then they just used, I think they were using Vertical Response and then like Emma. So if
Yeah,
you
I
think
think
about it, it's just like a MailChimp type of system. It's
Okay.
just an email marketing system.
So just generic email marketing.
Right. And part of that, I'll be honest, right? It sounds like I'm being really candid here. It sounds like, wow, she has all of these. It's like somebody who has 5 cars in their garage and then they walk to the store, right? Part of it was I had so many systems that, like, what I did is I just made every single email. I kind of got over the fact that, like, maybe the Amazon delivery receipt or the Uber driver doesn't need to know about my houses, but I figure maybe I'll tick some people off, but I'll just send it to everyone, and the hand raisers will raise their hand.
How did you aggregate all of these people to that? Like, how did you get them all there?
I pulled them all. Like, it was pretty, actually it wasn't as hard to do. I pulled my LinkedIn, I pulled my Facebook, I pulled all of my systems. You can CSV everything. I feel like Rosetta Stone of contacts is like sort of Google connectivity, and you can just get them all in.
So that's what you did, is in order to get everything over here, you moved. And so did you move any of these other systems over?
So I just, the Salesforce was like, and so like, I would love to say I had this huge master plan and there was a method to the madness. It really kind of came up to when my contracts were up. So past clients went first because that was like my big renewal point. And then I just literally May 31st is my last day on Sync and Follow. And I also May 31st is my last day on Follow Up Boss, but I'm not using them actively and I haven't been using them for pay-per-click. But I just needed to make sure that my buyer's agents had some time to create some, look at the notes and identify who their top prospects were so that we can have a system and a way to do that.
Did you bring the data over, or?
We will be. Our Sync is so full right now of like, there's 20,000 clients that we've been
So you gotta clean it
from
up first.
2011. So what we're doing instead is going backwards by time and just going essentially like who are they actively working with and who they worked with in the last year or two, and starting that way. And then we're still working on our kind of solution on how to park it with some of what we have.
You're doing a segment over
Right.
here and clean up.
That's right.
So when did your Salesforce contract expire? I feel like I know the
It
answer
was
to this.
really early. Like I want to say it was August or September.
Yeah,
By
you-
October, I was off.
You've been on command for
Yeah.
like 6 months at least.
By family reunion, I had all 1362 in, and I had family reunion was what, late Feb?
Yeah.
I had every active pending and closed from Jan 1 in
In
opportunities. And I love opportunities. It's like
Oh,
my
so-
favorite thing in the world.
So then you're also using.
I'm using opportunities. Yep.
How do we draw this? Let's do it like this.
To me, that is like the game changer, because the problem with opportunities, the problem that opportunities solve for me is I didn't have opportunities in any of these systems. Like I was using Salesforce for contacts, but my opportunities was literally a good memory and Post-it notes, and sometimes going, oh, I met David. I feel like, oh, I was driving by. I feel like I met him 3 months ago. I wonder what happened, if he listed or not. Then I'd scroll through my Google Calendar and find I had a listing appointment with him, and I went, and then I'd follow up. Like, that's not cool.
No,
So for me, having opportunities is amazing to see what's active and pending. But that stuff that's in progress, that like, okay, we had a conversation, I presented the CMA, I'm still waiting for the verbal. I've defined all the stages of my pipeline, and I keep, like, all that stuff that's in my head is now in a visual dashboard. There's people that swear by Trello. I'm not even an operations person, but it's so Trello-like that you can see these just buckets that are moving across, and there's so many of them that I know just because of the recency effect, right? You only remember the stuff that just happened. And so if you lose a listing, or worse than losing a listing, not hearing for a couple months because they're taking their time or they're going to wait till spring or whatever, things just fall out, right? And you forget until you see it like listed by your competitor. So for me, opportunities was huge.
And you said you set up your own stages? You didn't
Yep,
use the
I
stock
did.
ones?
I
Okay.
used the stock ones to start, and then I added just a few little things and
Okay.
like on how I defined them. And for example, when I do a listing, you know, the listing appointment, did I present the CMA? I added if I got a verbal. And then when we sign, they go into staging. And for me, staging means they're signed but not active. And then we have another one like with actual staging and the home repairs that need to happen. So I did add a few steps to the
Okay.
pre-build. But I will say this, if I didn't add any steps, it pretty much worked at the beginning just exactly as is.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was nothing in opportunities for me that I even had to customize for the family reunion goal of getting everything in. Now, keep in mind, I do a lot less than Lance. I remember Lance and I were on the same panel. He had like 70 pending, and I had like 8.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but it was nice because I just picked a date, guys. Like, right? What is it? Today's like it's May 31st on Friday or whatever. You just pick a day and say, starting this day, everything active, pending, and closed is going in. You don't have to go back, because I think what happens is people are like, I want to go back in time, and so, you know, and then they get overwhelmed by like all this they have to do to make it perfect. But I think you just pick a date and you start. Sure, it was January 1, you know, because it was the beginning of the year, but we could pick any date and just start. And then if you have time, you can always, you know, go back or whatever. But
Going
like,
back to Q2.
you have
at
to
Q2.
start. You just have to
Start
start.
at Q3, whatever that time is.
But my close rate, I have to measure it, but I know for a fact it's better because I can see stuff now that before I was relying on just like
Awesome.
intuition.
So let me ask the question that a lot of folks are thinking. So you've moved into command. What is your coping mechanism when we have growing pains and things aren't working exactly the way they should?
You know, it's, you know, I'm just going to be candid. Like, one, I actually stay off of Facebook a little bit, like, because like, nothing is perfect, but I think if we get perfect, we become stagnant, right? Like, so my thing is, like, what's the hack, right? I don't want to be so, like, you know, scrappy about it, but at the end of the day, I was dealing with a memory and Post-its and so many systems that I'm now, like, blasting the spammers, like, that email me are getting my videos. Like, that's really bad, right? So, like, I had so many systems that it was like I didn't have a system. So for me, like, the coping mechanism is just accepting that, like, one, it's not going to be perfect, but like everything now is in one place again, and I have end-to-end visibility. And even though like that bell or whistle might be coming, I don't necessarily need the bell or whistle. I can just make it work with what we have. And I'd rather do that, to be honest, than have this convoluted manual on what my workaround is for something. Like, there's so many fields you can add and tags you can add and things you can do to make it work. And at the end of the day, like, has anyone gone into their phone, their Android or their Apple, and look at like how many contacts they have? Like, I have like so many. They're duplicates, there's junk, there's old addresses. I still have to look at a contact and go, yeah, you know, they're divorced and that address was 2 houses ago. And I just know that because it's in my head, right? So at the end of the day, like, and we function.
Yeah.
So I think my message is like, don't get paralyzed by what's coming. Use what's just working now, because there's a lot that's just working that is going to replace all of these systems and will work. Like, it's just like 80-20 rule, but it's like 95-5. Like 95% of what you need to do is there.
Well, and I think one of the things that like no one that's listening should forget, one, you're one of the top 100, 200 agents in the company. I don't know what number you were ranked last year, but you're like in the top percentage of agents in our company from a production standpoint. I've said for a long time, I think just contacts and opportunities will be a better system, just those 2 applets, than what 90% or 95% of agents in our company are using today.
Right.
Like, just having those
I
2
agree.
things if they use nothing else.
I agree. If it means that you're using something separate for mailing until you know, or something separate for something else, like, that's not the core, right? Like, I mean, I know you guys have used this analogy before, but if you're driving, like, we don't read the manual for the car. I mean, I barely know how to change things on my car. I didn't even know it had that feature. I didn't know it had like a plug in the trunk or whatever. But you just drive, you got your steering wheel, you got your gear shift, you kind of know how to get it. And then later it's like, wow, I didn't know my nav can do that.
Yeah.
Or I didn't know like these, like, this is a 17-way like automated seat or whatever. So I think that I think sometimes we get so caught up in like that 2-inch manual on all the things the car can do that we just forget to drive it.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think it's a really good analogy.
So what are you looking forward to next? Because contacts and opportunities, those are you know, our top 2 focuses right now, you know, in terms of getting quality and usability done across both of those, and then going deep in opportunities. What would be the next thing that you care about or you're looking forward to inside of Command?
You know, there's like so many things I'm excited about. I then kind of keep my head down and just, you know, keep working because like, again, like who knows when it's going to come, and I can't worry about like the future too much. Like like the phone rings and there's a buyer to help or a seller to help. But I'm excited about the consumer app. That's going to be amazing. I love the sort of, I hate to say it as a controlling way, but like the Big Brother feel of having this one-to-one relationship with our client where we really know intuitively what they want, and being able to have like a way to just suggest properties to each other and like essentially use AI in our head to like kind of fine tune, like, oh, they liked this yellow house, they didn't like this blue house, this one's open and light, this one's older and dark. So then you start getting smarter on what they're looking for, right? Because my goal, I even tell my buyer's agents, if we're showing like more than 10 houses, we probably don't have their criteria right, especially in our market. We have still limited inventory. So like if we're showing like rural property, townhouses, fixers, or whatever, it's like we're not asking the right questions, and we just have to learn from how they're reacting to properties to be smarter. So I'm excited about that piece. I'm definitely excited about, in addition to my videos, doing a lot more targeted smart plans to my clients that work with the way I work, right? They could either be things that save time for me, or like I have this set thing. For example, I have a little sequence on when I get a referral. If David sends me a referral to Portland, I'm gonna send him a quick thank you. I'm going to reach out to the referral party. I'm going to invite them to Facebook or LinkedIn. I'm gonna do like 5 or 6 different, and then I'm also gonna send them a handwritten note. Like, so I do like 5 or 6 things, and I just sort of know to do that, but to have an action plan, if you will, that automates some of those tasks, or at least make sure that they don't, because it works, right, when you have 1 or 2, but if you have 10 all at the same time at different phases, you just forget, right? So I'm excited about seeing the smart plans evolve so that we can not only use it as a touch mechanism, but also for the way we do our business and automating certain things over and over.
If you guys have questions for Sarita, so if you're in the crowd, go ahead and raise your hand. I know there's a lot of chatter. You're starting to establish, I don't know if you've seen it, but I know Neil and I have seen it. You're starting to establish some folklore about yourself on the left.
Everyone here is just really kind. Thank you, guys.
So raise your hand if you're in the room and you have a question for Sarita. If you're on KW Connect Live, it's slido.com Y072. Looks like Jay Cermak has a question. Jay, go ahead.
The question is a reinforcement. So I love that you're sharing this. And I think the aha I've discovered from Command is it's forcing us to be purposeful with our database, right? Like really purposeful, not just what the book said, because we've written models on it, and we found our agents were like you. We have Post-its, we have stuff in our head, and we weren't actually keeping everything in track. And this system's forcing us to really be purposeful. So I love that you're slowing down to ramp up your business with this. So drawing this out, I think a lot of agents can relate to that.
Thank you, Jay. I think it's also so easy to get overwhelmed. Can you imagine if it's instead of 1362, it's like 13,620? It's just a different scale. You couldn't do the kind of really, for me, zooming in. The other thing I guess I would say just to that point is the tech is about the touch, right? So when I find things missing, I'm gonna call and be like, hey, Jay, I haven't talked to you since you bought that house 2 years ago. How's Billy? Is he still playing soccer? Like, I literally had this situation where, like, I was driving by someone's house and I had, sold them a house and I hadn't heard from them. And I just was thinking about them, right? So, like, but I noticed, like, I knew the address, but it wasn't in my system, right? So it was an opportunity for me to update my system. But when I call them, they're like, oh, it's great you called because our son's looking for a condo for $200,000 and our house was $800,000 and we were assuming you don't do that price point. Shame on me, right? That was the wrong message that they got. Of course I do that price point. I'd love to help. So like a lot of times I think we get so caught up in I'm going to sit behind my computer and I'm going to fill out all these fields that are missing and then I could go real estate. When really, when there's a field missing, great, call them and make it have coffee with them or ask them if you could just take a couple minutes because you're updating your system. And, oh, by the way, we have an event coming up and I want to make sure I get your info so I can send you an invite, right? Because I think if you're really social, you're going to also be like, hey, we should get together. And you really don't want to necessarily get together with everyone because you may not have time to pull that off. So if you have an event, that's your invite on how to get together with everyone, right? And just say, oh, we have a barbecue coming up, or we're going to the bowling alley, or we're going to do a shred event, or whatever. But I just want to make sure I have your info, and I want to make sure I invite you to my Facebook page, or whatever it is. But I think we are forgetting this. Oh, we want all the syncing to happen, so we don't actually have to talk to them, and that's where the gold is.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually the other way.
Right.
We want all this syncing to happen so it makes it easier for us to have those
actually talk to them,
conversations
right.
and gives us purpose to do
Absolutely.
it. That quote's going to stick, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The tech is
Cool. I think there might be a T-shirt in my
there you
future.
Well, yeah, there could be. Mindy, wherever she's at, I know she's on here because I saw her somewhere.
Yeah.
Mindy will have you a T-shirt probably before we get done here. Yeah, everyone's loving your stories. Like I said, any other questions for Sarita? There's a bunch here. What's your team structure? I think we answered that.
Yeah.
Do you currently use MailChimp with the issues? I think you're using some other email
I'm using a
platform.
different email platform, and I mean, like, I have such faith in this team that, like, whatever issues there are when they're new, they're going to resolve them. There's an option, right? You unhook if you're nervous, or you realize you're going to be a large scale user and it's going to cost a little bit of money and it's still worth it, right? You just have to make that business decision for you. For me, I'm not using it actively. I do have a MailChimp account, but I have a replacement that I was using before with my videos, so I'm using that.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys aren't hearing what she's saying, is you do not have to, it doesn't have to be all or nothing with Command.
Right.
Use the pieces that are helping you and that can help your business. Use them one at a time, and don't use the ones that you don't want to use, right? You already have a solution that you like for video email. So you don't feel a need to like bark up everyone's tree every day and be upset that our email campaigns don't
Right.
send video yet.
Right.
Right? There's just not a need for it. So use the stuff that works. There's a bunch of Sarita's amazing.
Yeah, Gary will be the first person to say he doesn't want your business to go backwards, right? For using technology that isn't quite ready for your business. If you have a solution that's working, don't go backwards if we're not there yet, right? You always want to switch over when you know that it's going to do what it needs to do. But I do think, yeah, absolutely. I feel like I saw somebody make a comment about the iPhone and being an early adopter, and it was a sweet compliment. So thank you. I can't remember who it was. So raise your hand if it was you. Oh, Taylor, thank you.
Yeah.
But I remember I am that idiot that does stand in line all night for the iPhone 4 or whatever, the first iPhone there, before a number or a letter, right? And I remember Antenna Gate, right? We got it. It was AT&T back then. It didn't work on most of our streets. And so everybody's online saying, this phone is horrible, it doesn't work. I guarantee you there wasn't 100% failure rate. There was a bunch of people who had their phone working. They didn't go online and say, guess what, guys, my phone works. They were busy making phone calls. So I think what happens also is when we're dissatisfied with something or we're waiting for something to happen, and then we find our sort of compadres that feel the same way and we start talking about it, I think you tend to sort of highlight what's missing versus what's actually working. So one of the reasons I took David up on this, being here, is really, it works, just use it. And where it doesn't work for you, there are always creative ways to make it work. And so, as opposed to, I need it to be perfect, otherwise I'm not using it. That doesn't make sense.
Well, and
because I'm literally, based on what I'm talking about, we're going to save over $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
And so that's huge. Someone paying me $2,000 a month to be creative, to make things work. And oh, by the way, my business is up because I have opportunities, and I never had that before.
Yeah, and you have additional, you're saving $2,000, and you have additional things you didn't have before for that same net gain of $2,000.
Not to mention the time I'm saving, not having to move things from system to system, right? Everything's in one spot.
Spencer, question for Sarita, go ahead.
It was more than a question. It's just a continual aha that we have, is the command transition is the perfect opportunity to reach out to your database. I can't think of a more perfect opportunity for neighborhoods, for the neighborhood snapshots. There's literally never been a more perfect opportunity to reach out and connect with your database. So you just need to start doing it today.
Awesome aha.
Thank you, Spencer.
Awesome aha. Someone asked, what did you use to pull Facebook and LinkedIn?
So there was a little trick. Facebook, I might have clamped down on it, but if you create a Yahoo account, there's a little known thing where you can integrate with a Yahoo account and pull your address book. And now I think they limit it to the number of contacts, but I did that earlier on. I've been stuck at 5,000 for a while, so I did it a while ago, and I got a lot of my Facebook people out of there.
That's pretty
LinkedIn, there is also, just Google it, there is a way to get LinkedIn out.
Genius. Hacks, Sarita's hacks for command and how to get people in the system.
Yeah. So I'm at, just so you know, from I've been pretty busy. I've got some other fun things going on in my life, but I'm at about 1,900 now. So it's like a good, slow and steady growth. Like, it's not like I'm going, 10x again every month, but those are all like those 500, 600 contacts are all clients and prospects, right? So they're like real people that I've connected with. They're not just, oh, I joined my HOA and here's 53 people on my street, I'm gonna add them. So they're actually real. So like we, just in a short period of time, probably from February, March to now, I'm at 1,900.
So you grew what 30, 40%?
Yep.
In how long was that?
Just since March.
March.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like we're in it, right?
Yeah.
And we're adding people.
It's,
like
it's funny. We were just going through some of our release planning this morning, and we were setting up goals for as we add more and more features to contacts and make it increase the usability and make it the best system it could be. We wanted to figure out what should our success metrics be, and I thought Jeanette, whom you've met as the product manager on contacts, she had a goal up there. The success metric was if we could grow for each agent their database by 10% over the next 3 months, or actually between now and MegaCamp, really, that would be counted as success. And you grew 40%.
Yeah.
So now
and I mean, think about it, right? If let's say you do 50 deals in 6 months, that's like 100 people that are actual, like usually there's 1.5 or 1.7 people per transaction, right? In terms of affiliate, whether it's a couple or a spouse, child or whatever, a parent, child or whatever. Then there's all the ones you didn't get, and then there's people that you actually meet through your sphere, right? And referrals you get. So it's not that hard. You just have to be purposeful that every single thing's going in there, and that's your only system that they're going in.
Well, and even if you do the orphan clients, right? So
Right,
even if all you do is grab the other side of the transactions people's information on every
Right.
deal you do,
Yep, that's another
there's
50
double whatever
50 to
the deals you
75.
did.
Yeah.
So
Okay, let's take back, right? Maybe it's not 50, maybe it's 10. But if it's 10 even, I would challenge you guys, where are the next 50 contacts that you're going to add? Because they're right there. They're right under your nose. If you're not using it, just add them, right? Anyone you've either met with, did a consult to, met at a networking event, like it's essentially anyone you've had real estate conversation with needs to go. If you're following the bold standard of, 20 a day, even if it was 20 a week, that adds up.
Yeah.
You just have to be purposeful about it.
So do you typically add contacts? Are you using Kelly? Are you writing them down somewhere? Like you meet someone at the grocery store, where are you going first
I'm
to
using
add them?
Kelly, or like I'm also 100% paperless now. I have my iPad Pro with me all the time. So if I meet people like between Kelly or my right in command, they're going in.
Right then.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I can't. I'm just trying not to. The Post-its nearly killed me.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had $1 for everything I wrote on the back of a receipt, right, in the console of my car.
Well, you were mentioning that you're really excited about consumer. Can I show you some of the stuff
Yes,
that's
please.
coming?
That'd be
Let
awesome.
me drive here a little bit.
I was going to
Oh,
say
perfect.
there
I'm
was
happy to
a
do
great
stuff.
segue. She gave us a good segue here.
She did. So I mentioned last time that be sure to ask me about Guide Builder next time we got together, and
Sure enough.
Yeah, it's
people
like
did,
pinned
which
to
is
the top.
awesome. So let's go look at some of the things that I think are pretty exciting. So this is not me. So let's log into me.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, that was.
Last week.
I found out why that was happening last week. So we, Dave and I were running a test right before this, and not today, but last time, and nothing was working. It turned out we were testing right in the middle of a deploy, and so that's why. So Guide Builder, let me open this link. Guide Builder is the figures this would need. Oh, good. Password.
It's a good thing you're logged in.
It is, yeah. Guide Builder is the app inside a command that is going to allow you to configure the consumer app when the consumer comes out. So let's take a look at this.
I like to describe Guide Builder, guys. If you think about sales pipeline, the consumer's view of the sales pipeline.
Right.
Like that would be how they look at how they will have visibility to the sales pipelines, how I think about it.
Right. And so if you think, if you've seen the app, and I'll bring that up too, but so this is the agent side. The agent is going to create, well, what are the steps that you'd want to explain to a particular user of your consumer app, whether they're a buyer, a seller, or even a homeowner, to what steps you want to take them through as an agent, as their agent. What do you want them to see? That's basically building a guide, step by step by step. And then you're assigning it to either a tag of users or a specific user. So this is where you're going to have the power of customizing the consumer app and what everyone else will see that's within your sphere that actually has your app. And so here we're going to create or take a look at what's inside. Oops, let's create a new guide. I'm going to create a buying guide. Let's drop the name in there. And I'm going to assign this to some clients. And I'm going to send that out. And so let me make sure I'm in the right area here. So now this screen should look familiar, right? When we showed you the demos of the consumer app, you kind of saw, hey, this is the guide. Now I'm creating a guide for, and this says Katie's home buying guide. So this is the introduction. So in the introduction, I am putting in all the text that matters, or even an intro video about me. And so now I'm setting up that consumer app and personalizing it for me, the agent, and what I'd like my folks to see. So now I'm going to come in here and move over to the guide section. That was the introduction. Now, these are the steps that out of and there will be here on the right-hand side a palette for you to be able to pick pre-built steps, and also how to map those steps to your sales pipeline, so that as a consumer is walking these steps. Now, some of these are just informational, like discover your home DNA, take the quiz. And so now what they're doing is they're implementing this widget. It's in the consumer application itself. They walk through this, and now you have an ability to figure out what their preferences are. So you were talking about the AI to figure out whether they like white kitchens or yellow kitchens or whatnot. That's what Home DNA does. It figures out through a little quiz. And so the quiz will be there on the consumer app if you want it to be, because you made it a part of your guide. An ability for them to run through, click on what they like, and then based on what they click on that they like, we'll start extracting an AI-based fingerprint or DNA print of what their preferences are. And so now we lock that away, and we use that not only in the consumer app when we're going to make recommendations, but also in a view for the agent to be able to see, to know cool. what they care about, even if they don't explicitly say they care about these things. And so now you can customize this with your own messaging around that, and we just keep moving on. Let's see, where's this prototype taking me next?
Well, this is one of those things that Josh uses the analogy a lot of Domino's Pizza, right? And
Tracker.
And the pizza tracker, right? We know when our pizza's in the oven, and we know when it's in the car, and we know when it's being made, and it's in the box. And oftentimes as agents, I think we feel like our clients want on-demand real estate agents when really what they want is information.
Yes.
Right. They want to know what step they're at, what's next, what's going to happen. Like a lot of times we play this game of like, okay, they're going to, like, I have like 2 closings on Friday. Like, I know already if I don't reach out to them ahead of time, they're going to reach out to me. Hey, where's our settlement statement? How much money do I, it's like today's Tuesday, but like I know what's going to happen and I need to get in front of it, right?
Yeah.
And so knowing these steps and knowing telling them what's going to happen next is huge.
Yep. And so some of these, as mentioned, are informational steps, and some of these are going to be steps that map straight to a stage in your sales pipeline. So as a consumer is traversing these steps, you'll actually be able to configure, hey, do you want that opportunity card to move along with them as they run through these steps? Like they hit the pre-approval, they're visiting, they're going to make an offer. So at this point, in a buying timeline or a pipeline, they've hit the active stage,
They're active,
right?
Exactly.
And so now you're able to track them there, and that card moved automatically just based on what their activity is within the consumer app. And so we think that's a killer feature. It's a why we win feature around our consumer strategy, because there is no other agent to consumer app capability like this. This is one of the things that's key and unique to the Keller Williams experience around this. And because you're able to tailor it for the consumer in a specific market, for a specific type of consumer. First-time home buyer, maybe, for a first-time home buyer, there may be totally different messaging up front over here versus an investor buyer versus maybe a downsizer. And you're able to create different apps for every type of buyer. And that's what Guide Builder allows you to do. And let me see, Tammy, were you able to find that? Yes. Oh, perfect. And so here's kind of some looks at what that's going to look like.
You got
Tammy's
some
so
pizza
on it.
lovers over there.
Yeah, so
that are excited.
I was going to say, Taylor had a birthday, so hopefully, Taylor, you got pizza for your birthday, which would be awesome. Not sure. Yes. Did have pizza for his birthday. Xavier is still on the crush method here.
What's that?
It's been mentioned in previous sessions that deploys shouldn't impact workability because you mentioned that we opened during a deploy. So he's trying to Xavier is on it today. Is that still the case, or could we possibly encounter issues during a deploy?
We shouldn't encounter issues during deploy unless we hit a regression. And so we test for regressions. In fact, Bobby and you guys have a whole set of users that run through a playbook of, okay, these use cases should work, and if they don't work, we've hit a regression. And you guys run that every Monday, right?
A lot of these people on this call are those labs advisors. Sarita's one of them.
Yep.
Sarita's team runs her playbook every week and gives feedback. That's Bobby's initiative. So yeah. Okay. Every week after the deploy, they run 4 regressions. That's what we're looking for.
Yep. Hey, Tammy, I was looking for the consumer app URL. This is not the consumer app.
While you're looking for that, I just want to mention that today, how we're doing that Home DNA is basically extensive interviews during our strategy session. What's your must-haves and what's your would-be nices? Taking a lot of notes. And then in terms of the stages, right? Unfortunately, it's really just the kind of this barometer we use, right? Like they're super active, they want to see a bunch of houses, then they fall off, and we don't know why. So to be able to actually kind of monitor where they're at by their actions without having to always touch base and feel salesy, like I don't want to be like, hey, do you want to look at a house? But if I know they've fallen off for a reason, the only way I can kind of figure that out is through communication. So I love that this is going to finally kind of sync us up without having to ask them straight up what's happening, plus using visuals as opposed to like getting the story in my head and then tweaking it every time I see how they react to a house. Now I can see them do that online as opposed to going and physically looking at a house with them and then tweaking. So it's really powerful. I'm excited because it's going to not only save time, but like now they don't have to send us links from other portals to say, I want to see this house. Like we're just now back in lockstep where we have a kind of a working list of favorites and we understand why they want to see what they want to see.
Cool.
So Neil's getting us into the consumer apps. You guys can see what this looks like from the consumer side. So what they'll see on there. And while we're doing that, question from Brian for you, Sarita. What stages do you use in Cultivate? I don't know if you remember off the top of your head. In Cultivate, do you know what they are or how many?
What are they off the top
It's
of
Hot, Nurture, Watch to start.
Yeah, so I actually have my stages so defined that I don't go super granular on my Cultivate. Like I just have Hot and everyone else because I know exactly, I have like 5 to 6 steps in each of my other pipeline phases that for Cultivate, essentially when they're in my command, like we've already connected and we're talking. And so I just move them up to Hot if we're having more conversations.
Gotcha. So Hot and everybody else.
Yep.
And so this is a proto of the consumer app. So I just ran through and got logged in, the simulation of logging in. And so Guide is right down here. So it starts off with the search experience that any real estate app would have. So where do I want to search for? What are the different areas? The number of listings available in a particular area, as well as a filter. But here's where it gets interesting: is when you click on Guide. This should look familiar because this is that
we just built
intro page that we just built. So you would build this in Command, and then as soon as you link this, or as soon as a consumer downloaded the app and linked to you, this portion of the app is configured the way you configured it. So now, once we get started here, we see the video that's been uploaded, and we're going to do the Home DNA quiz, and then we're just going to run through everything step by step through the buying guide that was just created on the command side. And if you switch things around, you're going to automatically modify the consumer app for everybody that's connected to your account.
Yeah, how many? I mean, I'm thinking about this now. So I have a client. We just listed their house last weekend. I have to call them when we get done here and update them on showings. What happened this weekend? Did we get offers? All that stuff. They're probably wondering right now because they haven't heard from me today except for one text. What's going on? How nice would it be for them to understand? Okay, well, once we get an offer, then this is what's going to happen,
Right.
And it's going to save so many phone calls and text messages and emails. They'll know.
And then same thing, I didn't show you the guide builder on a selling guide, but a selling guide would be basically get basically an AVM estimate or an estimate directly from the agent doing a CMA type of thing. Did I use that right? CMA, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, CMA type of thing.
I'm
Neil's
learning the
Neil's
lingo.
real estate lingo is good.
You know, the prep checklist, if you've got a checklist that you want to share with your consumers on getting their listing ready, if they're ready to sell, collaboration around showings, and then review offers. So this is where offer management and the consumer app marry. So as you get offers and you create a summary of offers, that's where they'll be able to see it. They'll be able to click right into this area of the guide and see the offers summarized by you on inside of Command. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I love that you can also tailor it to the market of the moment. If you live in a part of town or part of the country, I should say, that is a hot market where they know like they're going to have a lot of showings and then they have an open house and then they have like an offer review period. You can talk about like what happens if when we don't have showings, or what happens when we get to the open house or whatever. You can kind of tailor the messages based on how you work with your clients in your own market and the steps that, some people list on Thursday, some people list earlier in the week, or they know that they want to make it through the weekend or whatever. So you can really get specific with certain messaging so that you set expectations for the seller.
Yeah, one of the things, I think as you said that, the thought I had was people are going to use this in a really fun way. You'd be able to make it fun. I used to, when Austin's still a pretty hot market, but when it was like 2016, when it was nuts, in buyer's appointments, I used to joke with people and say, here's how this is going to work. We're going to go out, we're going to pay way more than they're asking for, we're not going to get any repairs, and we're going to like it.
Right.
And that's just how it's going to go. But like you could make stages that say that in the system, and so they understand and prepares them for what's coming.
Exactly.
And then where I just clicked to in the app is the concept of feed, where you were talking about having a conversation around a decision point, your home value. So we're able to create a topic. You can launch that into the feed via command, and then have an entire discussion between the agent and the set of co-buyers, the collaborators within, within that mobile app. So it would be a husband and wife. They would be connected, and they'd be connected to you, and you guys could all have a conversation in the feed just on a listing or on a neighborhood, an
You could
open
do,
house.
or you could say the rates are really low, and then here's an article, right? And then have
Exactly.
a conversation on why we should
your
be.
video email turns into this.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And it
your video gets
reinforced,
uploaded into someone's feed, and that's where they're consuming your content.
And I can get ideas also if I continue to do my videos, like, wow, everyone really wants to talk about this. I should do a video about that.
So that's a peek at what we're working on a whole separate track than Command. Is just this is our consumer investment of building up this app and building up the Command side of the app and marrying those two things together. So that's a whole nother set of folks and another set of teams that we have working on this. And very soon in these tech talks, we'll start bringing in those product managers and showing you a status of where we are with the consumer app. So this is all leading up to our launch later on this year. But now we'll start showing you some more live demos of this because this is coming along pretty well.
This
It's
is
looking pretty
slick. Yeah, it's awesome.
It's super slick. We only have time. We got about 7 minutes left, guys. Today's flown by. We've got a question for Sarita from Debbie. If you got anything for Sarita, we don't have time for many more. Slido.com Y072 or raise your hand if you're in the room. Debbie wants to know how you manage lead distribution to your buyers agents in Command.
Great question. So I'm my buyers agents were just moving off of Sync, so I've been using Command for all my past clients, and most of my business I don't do really any paid lead sources, so it's basically referrals, and we're basically unfair. Like my best agents get more leads. It's kind of like I say,
Sounds super fair to me,
LeBron doesn't, play the same minutes as like the rookie, right? So, we manage that based on price point and if they're doing their activities. And so we haven't been doing it in Command yet, but we will be. But most of the lead, we don't have a bunch of cold leads coming in, if you will.
Yeah.
If you guys have more questions, find me on Kelly, add me to your referral network, and ask me the question. I'd love to answer.
Yeah. Hey, and Sarita, that's the other thing. Like, if we want to talk referral, sometime I'm going to have you in for our referral session. The way that Sarita has tuned in her referral network is actually awesome. Like real strategy on who's where and how that works. It would be awesome.
I'll
to
share
get-
that in my next one
Yeah,
if I get
next-
invited back.
Yeah, oh, you'll absolutely get invited back. People are loving it.
Yeah.
So
But I'm
let's-
happy to, I'm happy to answer anything offline if we don't get to time.
Sarita's, you guys, as you can tell, someone asked, what other agents in the company, if any, are fully using Command? Do we know? I don't know that we know every single agent's. I'm sure there's a report that I don't have the ability to see that tells who's using what, but we absolutely have some early adopters like Sarita. I think Taylor would say that calling Sarita an early adopter is actually doing her a disservice because she's far earlier than that. But yeah, we know there's people that are using the system totally. As
Tell
a
you what,
CRM.
I'll on our Friday show, I'll bring up the report that I look at on Command usage and share that with everyone, so you have the exact numbers. So total
Yeah.
number
Perfect.
of contacts, who's doing what, not who, but how many folks are doing what around Command. So we
How
have,
to
we have all the
benchmark it,
stats.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Jennifer says she's almost 100% up and active in Command.
Awesome, Jennifer.
Shoot
Nice
me
job.
Jennifer, shoot me a text. Actually, that will be helpful for me to use. I actually need someone with that exact use case that we were
Yeah,
just talking about.
absolutely. Love to know who else is plugged in. See if we can
Yeah, if
share
you're on this call, if you're in the room with us today and you're using Command in your business and you're selling houses with it, then let me know. Put your information in Slido, or send it through chat, and Dawn will pick it up. We may have some opportunity around that,
Sarah,
so-
yep.
Yep. So, awesome, guys. We are in your group. Yeah, and you could also post it in the Usual Suspects group if you're in.
Right. And I see some comments that they hadn't been invited in. Let us know, and we'll get you into the usual suspects.
Yep. Mine's easy. David.Voorhees@kw.com. I'll just forward them to Miguel. Joking. No, I'll actually read them. So yeah, if you're still waiting for your invite for Usual Suspects, just put your information here. We'll get them out. We're getting that out as quickly as we can. We'll put Sarita definitely in the Usual Suspects
Oh,
Connect
excited.
group.
That's awesome.
Those are the people that are with us all the time. All right, guys. 4 minutes left. Neil, you got anything else?
No, I think that's it on my agenda.
Sarita?
I'm good.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Guys, thank you so much for your time today. Oh, Taylor with a question real quick.
Yeah, it's actually a usual suspects question on the group. What is the best way to submit feedback? Would you prefer just a single post or like a document with like full of feedback, or how do you guys want that?
I think a post with a link to a document is easier. That way it doesn't take up too much space. So if you just create a GDoc somewhere and then the link to it, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, and you know what we'll do? I don't know if we have any of our product specialists in the group, Rosemary and Ben and their team, but we can put them into the Usual Suspects
Yeah.
group and they'll be able to filter that stuff
Right.
up. So-
And then if we have that link, the reason I'm saying the link to a document, that just makes it easier to share out to
Yep.
our product folks.
Yep. Awesome, guys. Thanks so much. This was a jam-packed Tuesday. We talked about a
Yeah.
lot. Hopefully, this was a little bit different of a tech talk session, but lots of stuff about how you can actually move over. And someone said this should be a class at MegaCamp, how to transition to Command. I think we have a perfect host for it right here.
Yeah.
I'll
Thank you,
facilitate a
guys.
conversation with Sarita at MegaCamp around that. So thank you so much. We will see you Friday. We've got a jam-packed week. So again, Gary's Mastermind is in town. We're expecting a ton of special guests during the week. Tomorrow morning tomorrow afternoon at 3, we've got Ask Me. No, that's
Fascinating.
Thursday. That's Thursday. Tomorrow's Myth Crushers with Jim. So Jim Talbot's going to be doing, Jim and Ruben, our data guys, are going to be doing a cool show about myths in real estate and
cool.
debunking those
That
myths.
sounds cool.
So yeah, and then Thursday, Ask Me Anything with Carissa Acker in studio. And Carissa, who knows what color hair she's going to have this time? We don't know. And then Friday, Latest in Labs, we'll definitely, we're working on some guests for that too.
Perfect.
Awesome. Take care, guys. We'll see you next time.
Take care.
Thanks, guys.